a minute more because I see people still landing in coffee hour, which is great fun. Evans Owsley, do you mind just saying a quick hello? You're our director of communication, so people can attach a name and a face. How long have you been at the cathedral? And give us just a quick sketch of the things you work on, including AV.
Yeah, so I have been in the communications position for, I think, close to 20 months. So if you do the math, that means I was finally getting settled, and then the pandemic started. So my job has really changed since, in the past year. I I'm on social media, so all the Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, that all comes from my office. I currently am pretty much the only one doing the live stream, but if you're interested in learning more about how that works, please send me an email, and kind of helped design the AV system that we're using right now and the one that we'll be using in Dagwell shortly, which is really exciting. So that's it. Also, I also do the cathedral voice. So if you don't subscribe to that, Richard's going to already put a plug in for that, but anything that's happening at the cathedral, especially right now with these big exciting announcements, will all be in the voice. So definitely subscribe.
Evans, how does one subscribe?
So you can go to sjcathedral.org/newsletter, and it'll have a little form, and you fill out your email and your first and last name and check the cathedral voice. And then if you also want to receive information about family events, you can also subscribe to the family voice. It's all in one place. Super easy.
Perfect. And then one other person identify, and then we'll pray and dive in. And that is, so I've introduced you to our junior warden, Michael Vontae, and now we are joined by our senior warden, Lee Grinstead. Lee, do you mind just saying hello really quickly so people can associate names and faces?
Hello, how are you?
Thanks, Lee. Let us pray. So this is a prayer from John Wesley. And I thought it was fitting as we've just received communion or preparing to, and as we gather around a kind of virtual table. Be present at our table, Lord. Be here and everywhere adored. Thy creatures bless and grant that we in paradise may feast with thee. Amen. Good morning. I'm so happy to see so many of you. I want to give several updates on the front end about the expansion of the services and the renovation, and then we'll have plenty of time for any questions that you have for me or for the wardens or for Evans or for the clergy. We really want to use most of our time to answer questions that we might not have even thought of, that I bet you have. But before we do that, so some things that I'm certain that the questions that we will field that I think I can knock out on the front end a little gracefully. So the first is this. We announced the HVAC renovation and the expansion of the services simultaneously for a very important reason. We had to. So basically, the project will begin in the nave on May the 3rd. So that's soon, right? So we had to go ahead and come up with our plans and our contingency plans for what worship would look like once we expanded. And knowing that the renovation begins May the 3rd, that also means that we know that our last Sunday in the cathedral for a long season is May the 2nd. So the first thing that I want to lead with is something that you've seen Evans posting on Facebook and on Instagram, and that is this. If you want to pray in the cathedral, if you want to be in the cathedral, if you want to see the cathedral before the renovation begins, you need to do that pretty quickly. So come these next 2 Sundays or this afternoon to in-person communion between noon and 2 p.m. You can say a prayer, receive communion, and go about your way, because we will dive in with construction beginning May the 3rd. That also explains why, beginning May the 23rd, our locations are Dagwell Hall and the chapel. So a little bit about the service timeline, and then I'll go back to the renovation, and then I'll take questions. So the service timeline, beginning Pentecost, May the 23rd, we will expand to 3 services. As Broderick told you in our video, and if you've not seen the video, you can find it on Facebook and on the homepage, sjcathedral.org. There will be an 8 a.m. morning prayer outside on All Souls Walk. Just a little bit about the rationale. We know we're a community that loves communion and the Eucharist. However, as we talked with people and thought about it, we thought that it might be nice, certainly nice, to have an outdoor service. That gives us a lot more capacity. And it might be nice to have a kind of bridge back for some people that is not a communion service. So we'll start with morning prayer, at least for summer. And it's a nice way of coming back. And you can be on the grounds, you can stay outdoors. And then it'll be followed by, there's a little bit of debate. Broderick has a more eloquent term for it because it's clearer and eloquent. I call it coffee hour, but we're not serving coffee. Broderick calls it, I think, not fellowship, but gathering or something mystical like that. But we'll gather after morning prayer. You can be together, distanced for about 30 minutes or 45 minutes out on All Souls Walk. And with the weather that we have in Colorado, it'll be beautiful. We're gonna have a nice summer with 8 o'clock. You do not have to register for the 8 o'clock ever. That's also a nice thing. Well, the 10:30 will be in Dagwell. Unfortunately, you do have to register. It just is what it is. The Office of the Bishop's guidelines limit us right now to 50 persons indoor, 50 persons or less indoors. Over time, that number will get a little bit higher, but for right now, it's 50. We will also, even when it gets a little higher, we'll be limited by the fact, unfortunately, that we're in Dagwell. The moment we're back in the cathedral, we'll be able to expand to a lot more people indoors. But you'll need to sign up in advance for that 10:30 service. Here's the biggest thing you all need to know about signups. 2 things. It has not gone live yet. You can't sign up right now. We're still over a month away from that service. We will launch the sign up in May. And here's the biggest thing you need to know about that. You will all hear it at once. It is going to be first come, first serve. So what Evans will do is she will put it out in The Voice on Friday. That will be the first place it goes live. And that'll be the first place to see it. And everybody will find out at the same time. And whoever gets there first gets there first. Also remember, there are services you don't have to sign up for. Following the 10:30 service in Dagwell, there will be outdoor coffee hour or gathering, because we're not going to serve coffee. Right now, we still can't serve coffee or food for obvious reasons, but you can come to coffee hour and you don't have to sign up for that. And what's really nice about that, and we're going to try to push this a lot, is you can actually come to coffee hour at, say, 11:30 outside, and then stay for in-person communion between noon and 1 p.m. that's contactless, that will happen in St. Martin's Chapel, akin to what we're doing now in the afternoons. So that's a really nice pairing, and I hope you will really spread the word among your friends and invite people. It's a huge opportunity to invite people, because it's going to be, you just got to think about it. Oh, I could go to coffee hour every Sunday after the 10:30, see a lot of people, not have to sign up, and then stay for in-person reception of communion in St. Martin's Chapel. In-person reception communion will be from noon to 1, and then the Wilderness will relaunch at 5 p.m., and it too, like the 10:30, is limited to the 50 people, at least right now. And then last on the services, both the 10:30 a.m. service and the 5 p.m. service will be streamed. So every Sunday, if you want to, need to and want to enjoy the services from the comfort of your own home, you can certainly do that through the streaming. And as all of you know, we just are so grateful for Evans Owsley. It's a kind of miracle that she's gotten, that she has overseen the project in the nave that we've in the cathedral that we've all enjoyed, and is just about to complete a second project in Dagwell so that we can have streaming in there. So that's the shape of the services. And I'll end it with saying every single Sunday, you can come to church without signing up for anything. You can come to 8 o'clock outdoor morning prayer. You can come to coffee hour or the gathering or fellowship following the 10:30 service. You do not have to sign up for in-person reception of communion between noon and 1 in the chapel. You don't have to sign up anymore. And every Sunday you can come to any of those without any sign up whatsoever. I know there'll be lots of questions on all that, and I look forward to that in a moment.
Brian and Sarah do have one question already in the chat.
Perfect. What is it? Let's see. Let me click on chat. Will communion be offered during the 10:30 service? Yes, thank you so much. Communion for the 50 participants at the 10:30 service and at Wilderness will include communion. So the 10:30 service, if you're one of the 50, and the Wilderness, if you're one of the 50, you will receive communion in person during that service. Thank you.
And presumably that will be contactless in the same way that we're doing that now, right?
Broderick, do you mind on that one? Because I think there's a little nuance to that.
There is nuance because of what we know now from the CDC and the bishop's office, et cetera, on the ways that COVID is actually transmitted. We feel comfortable placing communion in people's hands come May 23rd. And there is a way that we can place bread in hands without making skin to skin contact. Even though, we all know that the virus does not usually spread by surfaces. Plus, all the clergy are fully vaccinated in turn, so that's an extra layer of protection in terms of placing bread in hands.
Thank you, Broderick. And Lee and everyone, we're already practicing. I just gave communion to Broderick and Katie and Merle and Jacob, the crucifer, and we've got a nice little system where we put the wafer right in your hand. Okay. So renovation, and then we'll open up for questions. So the first thing to say, and I'll say it quickly, just, thanks be to God for this anonymous donor who's a member of the parish and that person's household. We're just profoundly grateful, and words cannot express what I and the vestry feel and think, and the bishop is absolutely delighted to. This is we're just, thanks be to God is all I know to say. And I've thanked that household as well in person. The 2 or 3 things. One, you need to know, and I'll say it quickly, the heat system that we have is failing. It's been failing for years. In my first week on the job, I was told by the director of operations and the maintenance supervisor that was their number one worry. And is the heat system going to fail on Christmas Eve, et cetera, et cetera. So you've been dealing with that for a long time. The other thing that a lot of you know, if you come to church in warmer months, there is no cooled air in the cathedral, period, nor has there ever been. And that explains why our attendance drops dramatically in summer months. And that is, as much of a problem as that is for Eucharist, it's a significant problem for marriages and even more so for burials, because we have so many burials in the summer. Michael Boney has a temperature gauge on the organ, and it sometimes measures high 80s in the summer. That's also not just a problem for people, although it's the number one problem. Those dramatic temperature changes that we know in Colorado are also a problem for the fabric of the building, namely the two organs and the stained glass windows. We also do not have any fresh air in the cathedral, which is more of a problem, obviously, after COVID-19. So in terms of what this project does, it is going to have a whole new heating system. And in the cathedral, it will introduce cooled air, and it will introduce fresh air. And it has an incredible thermostat, basically, that will even allow us, when the temperature is just right, to use these DOAS units. And if you think I'm very proud of myself for learning that term, you would be correct. That would allow us to use these DOAS units to run fresh air and not even have to run the cool air when the temperature is just right, say 60 degrees outside, 70 degrees outside. So it's an incredible system that even as it adds the DOAS units and the cool air and new heat, it actually reduces our carbon footprint, which is wonderful. And so we're largely getting off of combustibles in this project. So that's something to be proud of as well. The scope of the project is the cathedral first, and I mean that literally. So here's how the timeline will work. Construction will begin on May the 3rd in the cathedral. And everyone knows they've got to finish the cathedral first so that we can move back in the cathedral and then start on the rest of the campus. So here's the rest of the campus. We excluded from this project the Roberts building, mainly because it was really expensive, but even more importantly, Roberts needs to be renovated for a certain purpose or two before you put in a new HVAC system. The great news about our architect and our engineer is they have chosen a system that is scalable, which means that the moment we renovate Roberts, this system will scale into Roberts, no problem. Moving down the hallway to the other end of campus, we will do the new system now for the nursery. And as some of you know, the nursery does not have cool air. We'll do the new system for the common room, which, as some of you know, is an important meeting room that does not have air. We'll do it for the sacristy. We'll do it for the chapel. And then we'll do it for Dagwell Hall, and Dagwell does not have air. So what this donors and this household has chosen to do, and what we've planned, is a new system for all of the places where the people gather for prayer or for fellowship. So I'm just delighted about that. There is a question in here. It is not an electric heat pump system. It is technically a system called a VRF system, and I just put that into the chat. And you can find information about VRF systems online. And St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Alexandria is just on a VRF system, as has the Episcopal Cathedral in Houston, Texas, and they've been quite pleased with both of those systems. In terms of how long this journey will take, how long will construction take? First, the straightest answer is we don't know. This is a big $4 million project. So here's what we're hoping for. We're hoping to finish the cathedral before the holidays so that by Christmas Eve, we're back in the cathedral. That's the hope. That's the plan. There are no guarantees there. If we don't have it back open by Christmas Eve, Broderick Greer will have a great plan. I don't know what that plan will be, and I doubt that he does, but he'll come up with a great plan. The
Holy Spirit has already revealed it.
The rest, once the cathedral's done, then we'll do the rest of the campus. The rest of the campus will undoubtedly take into next year. And the reason why is because A, we'll start later, and actually B, the rest of the campus is actually a little more complex. Then I want to tell you before opening it up, this is the last thing I want to say, we have a wonderful architect. This project deserves an architect for a lot of different reasons. And one of those reasons is the architectural integrity of all the cathedral spaces, all the way through Dagwell, that we know and enjoy. Our architect is Triba Architects, which is based here in Denver and here in Capitol Hill. Triba has done Union Station downtown very successfully. If you've been there, it's a wonderful renovation. It's both, it works well for the people and it also fits well with the original architecture of those spaces. Their Triba Architects is in the middle of a huge project with Montview Pres, the Presbyterian Church in Capitol Hill, and they've done a number of other very significant projects. Their website is great if you want to check them out. And we've been working with them now since last fall, and we are most impressed with that team. The contractor's name is Franson Pittman. They are also based here in Colorado, and they're known for a lot of church work. They've done a big project recently on the CU Boulder campus, and we've been very impressed with them as well. And then two more. I told you I had one more thing, and I have two. You know how preachers are. I also want to thank one person in particular whose name is Mike Baxa. Mike is a parishioner and a parent, very involved in our youth program. And Mike is a contractor who works for Saunders Construction. Mike is not involved. Mike has designed this entire process from beginning literally to end, and everyone we have on the team. Saunders was not allowed to bid on the project. Mike is not involved in any way, shape, or form financially, but it's in large part thanks to his vision and his volunteering that has gotten us to this point, and the fact that we're just so well organized. So I want to thank Mike so much, although there are a lot of other people I could thank too. With that, I will open it up to questions. And the first one, you can ask your question out loud, although it might be easiest to put it in the chat if you're comfortable doing that. And I see a question from Roz and John about any discussion of reinstating Cathedral Night on Wednesdays. Yes, much discussion about that, Roz and John. More to come. Obviously, the Wednesday night schedule runs October or St. John's Day in September through April or May. So it's an academic year or program year program. And so we would not open it up before this fall. I can tell you, and I might be revealing too much, the goal before resuming Wednesday nights will be to be back in the Cathedral A, and God willing, and if things are going well in Denver and in Colorado, to expand dramatically what worship on Sunday looks like. So have a lot more capacity indoors. That'll be the #1 goal for fall once the cathedral is opened back up. And we will prioritize that over Wednesday nights. One of the things that you all might not know is that an outbreak of COVID on something like a Wednesday night, first of all, God bless anyone who gets COVID. And you know, that's the #1 thing is for them to get well. But what you might not be aware of is an outbreak on a Wednesday night would undoubtedly affect us on a Sunday morning. So we have to prioritize actually where we want to begin and launch and do safely, and not try too much else because it actually might compromise. The other thing that I would say is Katie Pearson, from the moment I started working with her, uses the phrase, it's easier to expand than contract. And trust me when I say that is more true now in this COVID age than it ever has been. Other questions, and Lee and Tina and Evans, if you'll help me flag questions, that'd be great. It looks like Greg Robbins has asked, will the staff and clergy offices be cooled? No, they will not be. We also excluded the clergy and staff offices are above Dagwell. We need to exclude that. Frankly, it was just too expensive. And so we prioritized where the people are gathering. But again, that system can be scaled, and one day we hope to get upstairs and cool the offices. The reception area, I think you're talking about the Welcome Center, and if you are, the good news about it, because it's one of the newer buildings on campus, it actually has nice heat and air, so we're not going to touch it. Other questions? Anyone else?
Richard, I have a question.
Please, Michaela.
Will the sign up for Sundays, will it open and include multiple Sundays, or will it just include one Sunday at a time?
Evans, do you mind trying, or do you want me to try to answer that?
Yeah, I can take it. So we are in contact with a few larger churches to get an idea that have already opened, to get an idea of what registration has looked like for them and what they like about it, what they don't like. Forms are a little complicated sometimes, and so we're trying to find the best way to provide a sign up for people. So we haven't decided yet. I think we're leaning a little bit more towards it being one Sunday at a time, but we haven't made a decision yet. We're trying to make it as user-friendly as possible, though. That's our biggest priority.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Michaela. Other questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question a little more about the signing up, because I think at St. John's we're a pretty gracious bunch, and I can imagine people like not signing up so that other people, and so I just wonder if there's going to be any mechanism, one, for potentially that, people like aren't necessarily going every Sunday, that maybe they're going a couple, just kind of how to pace it in such a way that people really feel free to sign up, but they also, a sense of kind of everybody getting a turn. But also if you have signed up and then you can't come, if there will be kind of a strong mechanism for, I don't know, like a wait list or whatever. But those are just a couple of thoughts I've had.
So I'm going to say 2 or 3 quick things, and then Evans and Broderick, help me out if I get off track. One is we're very hopeful that the technology is going to help with that issue of if somebody at the last minute can't come, because we want a full Dagwell, because we know we'll always have a waiting list, so to speak. So we're hopeful that the technology will give us a waiting list, and that you will know if you're on the waiting list, and you'll check your phone, say 30 minutes, 15 minutes before the service, and you'll get pinged knowing, hey, there are 2 spots open or 1 spot open, I can come. That's number 1. Number 2, and this is the piece that I want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly. Right now, we want you to sign up, come. Don't worry about taking someone else's space right now. We're hopeful that the technology is going to help us keep an eye on if people are coming too much. But right now on the front end, it's easy. It's actually best and easiest for us to have as many people who want to come signing up. And then you will see Evans make adjustments every couple of weeks if we need to tweak the system or limit you. We will limit you. Don't limit yourself, so to speak. Evans, you're nodding.
Yes. The last thing we want is to only have 40 people because everyone's too nice. So please do come. Yeah, I think that's it.
And to go back to what I said earlier, please, one of the biggest things, all of you, everybody on this call, I've got like 40 people in front of me, and I recognize every one of you. I'm sure there are more, but you're all leaders. You all know people. The biggest thing I think you can do is invite people, if you're comfortable, to come to church every Sunday at 8 o'clock, or for coffee hour after the 10:30, or for that 1 o'clock in-person reception of communion in the chapel. You do not have to sign up, and you can come every single Sunday. We have to spread the word on that, because that is actually the simplest, quickest option for everybody. And I'm worried that message is going to get a little muddled, because I know a lot of people are going to want to do the in-person at 10:30 or 5. We want you to be able to do that too. The message that we've got to lead with, I think, is almost, here's how to get to church every Sunday at 8, coffee hour at basically 11:30, and then in-person communion noon to 1. Other questions?
Jennifer Allen has a great question in the chat, Richard.
Yes. Jennifer Allen, can you describe what everyone will see as being different in the sanctuary space after the renovation? Status of current radiators. Okay, great question, Jennifer. So go back to the into the nave, into the cathedral. That where the people sit and where all the pews are is called the nave, but the cathedral. So you will. You're not going to see a whole lot that's different. So let me highlight what is. The radiators that run down the sides will actually go away. That actually is disappointing to me, and I'm being dead serious, because I love it when people sit on them for Christmas Eve. And it's a longstanding, fabulous tradition. I can say that the clergy and Dr. Michael Boney will not miss the clanking of those radiators, which is now picked up so fabulously by the new AV system and those great microphones. So that's going to be nice to have that go away. But the radiators will go away. The architect is pleased by that because the stone walls will be cleaner and prettier on the sides. We are looking at, can we get more benches, chairs, something, looking at the capacity for those larger services. What can we do creatively on use of space and seating? That's a big thing that's on the vestry's agenda and on art and architecture's agenda. The other thing that you'll see that's new, that's just fabulous news, is we will have a new wood floor. The current wood floor, which is at the end of its lifespan and has been refinished. I think Jesus was a boy and refinished it. It's been refinished for a long time. It comes out because there's a huge system that needs to go in, and the drawings need to be proper and correct. And then we get a new oak floor that'll be really pretty and nicely stained that goes on top of that. And oak is really good for acoustics. We have an acoustician who approves all of that so that the musicians and organists and choirs happy about it. So you'll see a new floor. The stone that runs down the center aisle, the terracotta up in front of the pews, and the side aisles will remain the same. That's basically the only differences that you will see, Jennifer and everyone. Other questions? Let's see, Judith Burke, good question about the VRF system. Your electric bills are high, correct, with a VRF system. So basically, we know that is going to be true. It's one of the negatives of this system. The vestry and the planning team were happy to reduce our use of CO2 and switch to electrical. We also believe that that Xcel Energy is going to continue to incentivize switching to electricity, but especially for the cathedral, and your building may be going through this as well, we have a pretty low natural gas bill. And so our energy expenses are going to go up at least in the short term for the next few years, if not permanently. And the vestry and the finance committee already has those numbers built into our 5-year financial plan so they can budget for that. Thank you, Judith. Other questions? Anybody else? Any question from the floor?
Greg just typed in the chat, we will not have a lock-like duct system in the nave. How do you get the air in?
Yes, correct. The air will run underneath the floor. And a part of the rationale behind that from the architect and the engineer is aesthetics. It means they can hide everything. So you're going to be pleased. In one sense, the cathedral and the nave will actually be prettier. It'll be less cluttered with stuff because they're going to run it below. The other thing they're going to do is there are actually some ducts on the sides of the cathedral, the east and the west. If you've ever walked down those side aisles and looked on a pretty or on a sunny day and looked down to your right or left, you'll see natural light coming in from the outside down into a little well. And they will, they're actually going to expand that little well a little bit, run the DOAS units through there, and that's going to be a source of some fresh air. And then they're going to add, at least the plan is right now, this could change. We're still in the middle of construction drawings, or the architect is, adding 2 fans, one for each tower, that will allow air to flow nicely and escape through the two towers. And it also has this system, and they haven't given me a prettier word for it, but it's a flushing system where you can actually flush the air. I kid you not. You can flush the air through as a way of cleansing the building, which is a nice technique post-COVID and even going forward. So it's a nifty system for that, but underground. Other questions? Ray Stransky, let's see. Someone said, mention the possibility. Yeah, this is a good question. Thanks for flagging this, Michael Vante. That could be it's to say that it's a significant architectural change is overstating it, but the towers, when you're walking out the back of the cathedral, first of all, great news. We have a structural engineer. We're gonna improve the masonry and the structures of the two towers so that they're fully functional, and add some waterproofing in them. The towers have problems, and the West Tower in particular has some problems, which means that we can't repair the Carillon. So thankfully, this major donor's household is paying for the repair of the towers. And then once that's done, in a year or two, we hope to repair the Carillon and the West Tower so that it can be played daily, which is exciting. If that air ends up running like we hope it will be through the towers and the flushing business and all of that, there's a chance that we will open those large wooden doors, and they'll stay open permanently or even be removed and replaced with a permanent iron screen that probably reads the same way as the rood screen does. So it'll be very beautiful and Gothic and heavy, but it'll allow the air to flow right through it.
So Richard, Lee answered Jenny's question about solar. So if everybody wants to look at the chat for that. And then Ray Stransky is asking about the pews.
Sure thing. Ray's questions, will the pews be kept or replaced? The plan right now, Ray, is for the pews to go away and simply come back. However, there is some very initial conversation about capacity and maybe just kind of looking at that and looking at it strategically. But right now, it's safest to say the architect is planning on the pews simply coming back in. But it is a conversation some people in vestry and A&A, arts and architecture, do want to have about what is our real strategy there. And especially going back to those radiators coming out and the loss of that seating down the side, do we need a different strategy? Other questions?
Possibly for Evans, Michaela's question around whether the sign-up mechanism back to in-person services, whether the sign-up mechanism can reflect how many people are waiting, how many people end up on the wait list for the 10:30 and 5 o'clock services.
So I also answered that one in the chat, but I'll say quickly, I don't think we'll be able to, I don't think the technology that we're going to use is going to be able to show how many people are in the wait list. There's a chance that we'll actually have a separate wait list aside from the sign up so that you can kind of always put your name on the wait list. And it's something that we would manually go through and reach out to people. If it looks like people have said, hey, I actually can't come. So that's still something we're figuring out, but I'll keep that in mind. So if I come across anything that does allow for showing how many people are kind of waiting, I'll keep that in mind.
I was thinking more for your knowledge, just so you guys have a sense of how many additional people are trying to get in, not necessarily to be posted publicly, but just so you guys have that information.
Yes, we're hoping, well, I hope that we will have that and also be able to see who is. So if there's someone who's always getting on the waiting list, maybe we can try and help them actually get into a service. Yeah.
I see a couple of other good questions. Dr. Robbins, any chance that the donor's lovely gift will be supplemented by Historic Denver for the Tower Carillon structural repairs? So the good news is we're pretty confident right now that we have in our budget with this gift the structural repair in both towers. We think we've got that covered. the Carillon would be something, and Lee Grinstead, our senior warden, has been in touch with Historic Denver. We are looking, no, Lee, which group were you with?
Sorry, it's the State Historical Fund. Historic Denver doesn't actually have funds, but the State Historical Fund out of History Colorado, the foundation fund. So we have spoken with them about some different projects potentially.
And that, Greg, that could be a good one. We've got something that's probably ahead of it that relates to a leak in the chancel and some masonry. We're really curious if they could come through for us on that. But good idea. And one of the things that Lee Grinstead is helping with is looking at any and all options on raising funds. And that also fits, I'll say, before getting to the other two questions and then wrapping up. I hope and pray that this gift is the beginning of more. There is more work to be done in the cathedral and on this campus. So as significant and large as this is, we still have some water leaks that have to get fixed in the cathedral. And we have some significant repairs that have to be done to the stained glass windows that I think is going to be a very exciting project if we can get to it for the parish. So more to come on all of that. And it's also why we need grants from anyone and everyone. And we really need a lot more major gifts to get to this work, because we've reached a stage in the cathedral's life where neither the endowment nor pledging nor the budget can handle projects like this, and we don't foresee that changing anytime soon. The Roger Hera asked, in lieu of fleshing, can we consider exhaust like a vent hood over your stove or fan in the ceiling of the bathroom? Yes, we are. So we're going to have both fleshing and exhaust, Roger. The towers will actually have a louver that allows air to escape from them. And that's a key part of what they're doing for the circulation of fresh air and cool air in the cathedral. So both. And then there was another question that I may have, I think I saw it. No, those were the two, the Greg's and Roger's. Any other questions before we wrap up? Lee, I've got one or two things to add. Oh, go ahead.
I've got a quick one, Richard. Is there any chance that some more information on the system itself, maybe some diagrams on how it works, just nothing too detailed maybe, but something that could be posted on the website to help get this information out to the congregation so we all have a better sense and maybe some visuals as to how this is going to work and what it might look like when it's done?
Absolutely. Evans already has a page on the website with some of this initial information. We will add to it over the course of the project. We want you to, Evans has a great strategy on, we're going to share pictures, we're going to share good news, we're going to share lots of things over the course of this project because it's so exciting and we want you to be informed. Anyone else?
Richard, can I ask one more question?
Of course, Michaela.
Thank you. My understanding is that right now the way that communion works is that there's sort of opportunity for maybe a quick prayer during that time, but that it's more of like a walk-through experience. Am I either incorrect in that, or is there an opportunity before the construction starts to maybe come and pray for a little bit longer in the nave?
Yeah, that is, Broderick, do you, well, it's on our list to talk about this week. So Broderick, anything to add on that?
Nothing to add.
Yeah, that would be nice, Michaela.
If there's an opportunity, yeah, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Lee, anything you want to add, and then I'll wrap us up with a couple of quick things.
I would just echo what you've said, that we're incredibly grateful to this donor for this wonderful gift. It's allowing us to do something that we've known we've needed to do for a number of years, but have been unable to do without this kind of a gift. And we're hoping that it will spark more. Yeah. So I'm so thankful that we can do this work right now. So I guess that's it from me.
Gratitude is always, that's great. Perfect. Michael, as junior warden, anything you want to add or anything you think we're forgetting to say that we know?
No, not at all. I will echo everything that Lee just said. Just such gratitude, such thanks. I don't even know where to start, but just +1 to Lee.
Thank you for that too. So just a couple things for me as we wrap up. One short term and one a little bit more longer term. In the short term, and none of you asked, and I was prepared for it. We don't know, we just don't, how much singing we're going to be able to do and when. For that, for the 50 people at the 10:30 and at the 5 p.m. There's some details that we work out intentionally and rightly with the office of the bishop next door. So there's some guidelines that we just simply receive and live with. And right now there's some discussion going on behind the scenes with the office of the bishop about, when can we expand and have, with everybody masked, have, say, a shorter hymn and have some congregational singing at that 10:30 and at the 5 p.m. at Wilderness. Right now, we just don't know. And there's several other little, well, that's not a little detail. There's several other details like that we just some things we don't know the answer to. So be patient with us. What Evans Owsley's asked me to say, you're going to learn something more every week in the voice. And I would say that's probably going to be true for a long time. Is we just try to give you more and more information without giving you too much information. So right now on singing, we'll definitely have a quartet in there, right, Dr. Boney? And they'll be masked and it'll be pretty and there'll be an anthem and probably a sanctus and things like that. But we just don't know if we'll be able to do a hymn quite yet with 50 or so people. The other piece I'll tell you is a little more long-term. I hope that we're able to continue to expand over time. Our goal, and we've worked real hard to try to get the balance right, is one of our goals throughout this journey has been, if we could avoid it, not expanding and having to take something away from you again or away from the people again. And we've been successful actually in that, and we've probably been a little bit lucky in that, and that's where that in-person reception of communion that's contactless from noon to 2 for us has actually worked really, really well. We've never had to pull back from that, and we're always trying to expand enough but not have to regress too quickly, and this plan helps us to do that over summer. Our hope and dream is the moment the cathedral is back open before Christmas, that'll be our next dramatic expansion. And I don't mind telling you, I'd love for it to be dramatic, but that all depends upon what the positivity rate is in Denver and Colorado and other factors. But if you want to think about it in terms of timeline, let's have a great summer, let's have a great fall, and be as patient as we can. And then hopefully before Christmas, once we get back in the nave, can see an expansion there. And then move on in the new year at really looking critically at things like expanding small groups and cathedral night and all of that. But that's probably in 2022. Thanks so much for coming. And then I'm going to repeat something that I've already said twice because I think it's that important. The biggest thing I ask you to do is invite friends and use your social media to publicize what you can come to every single Sunday. Bring people with you and spread the word. Every Sunday, 8 o'clock outdoor morning prayer with coffee hour. Every Sunday, coffee hour following the 10:30 service, likely on All Souls Walk. Every Sunday, in-person reception to communion in that beautiful chapel, St. Martin's, between noon and 1. Let's spread the word on that and have a great summer. thanks so much that you care enough to come and ask these very smart questions. Keep asking them. It's very helpful for us to have to answer them. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find it. Okay? Take care. God bless you and enjoy your Sunday afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for a great discussion.
Sure thing, Roger. Thanks for a good question.
Okay, you bet.
That was great.